Hey guys, Andrew here. This week we're actually in my house. I'm going to explain to you my fiasco with a certain blue and yellow big box store, why I've returned everything, and what I'm going to do about it going forward. First, let me make a cup of coffee, then we'll get to the story. Alright, so now I got my coffee. A little bit of backstory here. I bought this house last year and unfortunately walked into an absolute disaster. There was asbestos in the water damaged popcorn ceiling, there's mold everywhere. I've essentially had to tear the whole place apart and completely refinish it interiorly. Mostly just design work, I haven't had to do anything structural, thank goodness, but it's still been a long process. Part of that process was that the kitchen was rotted and falling apart. It was particle board cabinets from the 70s, probably when it was originally built, wasn't very well maintained, and there were several doors that when I'd actually go to open them, they'd just fall off in my hand. It had rapidly deteriorated in the long possession that I had. It was 2 months. I don't necessarily blame the previous owner. You know, everyone has their own challenges, and keeping a house up to date is maybe not everyone's forte. I'm lucky enough that, you know, I do take pride in where I live, and I do make it a priority, but you know, not everyone has the same time in a day. So it is what it is. A big part of what I was doing was going through the kitchen design process with a certain blue and yellow big box store. The process itself was relatively painless. The designer was professional and kind and answered my questions, and even did a free re-rendering when I opened up a wall that had a pantry before and found that my plumbing stock was inside of that wall. Strange place for it, but it threw off the whole design plan, and unfortunately I had to make some modifications that would seriously compromise my overall storage space. So that was problem number one. So problem number two came at the delivery of the first half of the kitchen. The truck canceled due to delayed weather. I understand bad driving. I never want to see someone go out in bad weather. That said, I work in logistics, and I dispatched all my drivers that day, no problem. So I was a little bit frustrated when the truck didn't show up. Also the fact that there was no communication up until the point that the truck was supposed to be dispatched. So now my cabinets are here, right? All is well in the world. Wrong. Only about half the cabinets showed up. Due to the supply chain issues we've seen throughout the world, they just didn't have the material. Particle board is being dramatically impacted by the crisis in Ukraine, and again, just the regular supply chain issues that we're all recovering from in a post-COVID world. So I didn't actually get the full cabinetry. That said, made the best of it. I installed what I had. Happy-go-lucky, all was great. Well, once that first order came, it would be several more months until I heard anything about the rest of this stuff. What ended up happening was I called in and was essentially told that, oh, well, we sent you a text message last week. Great, I was in the boonies, I didn't get it. Can I come get the stuff? Well, we've sold it on you. We've moved on to the next person in line. Now, this was partially my own misunderstanding. I was under the impression that I had paid for the entirety of the purchase and that it was being held for me. And I partially blame their system. I've been through 2 designers, 3 salespeople at this time. I shouldn't be having to sit here and wait for a text message from my kitchen. I should just be receiving a call saying, hey, it's ready, we're holding it for 2 weeks, whatever it is, come get the stuff. I was never given the courtesy of a phone call, never given the courtesy of an email. That's just how these large corporations work. So at the end of the day, my fault, but it is what it is. We live and learn. What am I doing to fix it? Well, I'm taking this as an opportunity. Realistically, the cabinets that I had ordered were not going to be a perfect fit for this space. I've only ever built a couple cabinets in my life, so what better time to learn and to build the entire kitchen from scratch on my own. I think it'll be a great learning process. So I'm going to take you guys along for the ride. It will be a multi-video series, probably over the course of a year, just due to time and budget constraints. I'm kind of chipping away at this as I go, but I think it's going to be an awesome project at the end of the day. I'm going to have custom cabinetry that's going to fit the space perfectly, which in these 70s houses with the jet-out kitchens is kind of difficult to get off the shelf. So I'm really excited for it. I hope you guys stick around for it. And if you feel like I've earned it, drop me a like, subscribe, and I'd really appreciate that. Thanks. Not all Swedish-made cabinets are crap, I promise. So for these particular cabinets, I'm going to do them the way that I learned through the video that Bourbon Moth Woodworking made on his channel. I thought it was really interesting how he did his own individual toe kick, leveled that, and then placed the cabinet box on top of that. Because this is going to be visible from two sides with the U shape in my kitchen, I thought this gave me a really interesting chance to play with the reveal a little bit and to have a bit of a more refined look. I don't mind talking here, it's nothing too fancy, it's just cutting a bunch of pieces to size. Once we've got all our panels cut, we're going to rip the rest of it into 4-inch strips. Some of those will stay at 4 inches as supports, the others will go down to 3.5 to be used as our toe kick. Now we have that blade depth set. The first cut we're going to make is 3/4 of an inch in. This will be for our back panel to be received. We'll make this on all 3 of our main panels, as well as one of the top support rails. Once that one's cut, we'll grab a couple of scrap offcuts. These ones are just too narrow to be used, and we're going to really try to dial in that 3/4 of an inch. And you'll see what I'm doing here. This is to set up our rabbet. So once I'm exactly sure that cut is exactly 3/4 of an inch in, then we're good to go and cut our rabbet. So we'll make our first pass at that initial cut depth. Not sure what I was doing there, probably got my panels confused. And then we will stop the saw, put a sacrificial fence in place that will allow us to get right up tight to the blade and complete that rabbet cut all the way to the edge. Because this toe kick's visible from both sides, I'm going to miter the corner that is visible. The other ones I'm not too worried about, but I think that for aesthetics, you just can't beat that mitered corner. Then we'll measure all of our other ones, cut everything to length on the crosscut sled. I've talked on my social media why I prefer the crosscut sled to my miter saw, just more accurate. Next up, we're going to assemble that toe kick. We'll drill a couple pocket holes, drop a couple brad nails. Spoiler alert, that doesn't go so well for me. Pieces ready, glue, clamps, chicken dance to blow off your work surface. I've been only using this tape trick for as long as I've been gluing up miters. It's just the easiest way to do it in my opinion. A little bit of wood glue in there, and that blue tape will actually apply a pretty substantial amount of clamping pressure once stretched. Make sure it's all square, it pretty much always is. I'm going to put a couple of pin nails in here. Help if I reloaded the gun, or maybe not, because as you'll see here, I'm actually going to shoot myself in the hand. Just a simple mistake right there, and thank goodness the audio is muted because words were said. Words were said. But Mama raised a tough boy, so I'll just suck the blood off my finger as I go. These are going to be painted anyways, so whatever. And I'm going to be a little more cautious about keeping my hands well clear. Unfortunately, nails do sometimes blow out the side. They'll hit something inside of them, they'll go off. Just in a moment of stupidity, I totally forgot about that possibility and had my hand too close. Totally my fault. Now we're going to cut our back panel. Nice and flimsy. It's a little lighter than the big 3/4 I was trying to cut earlier by myself, so this goes quite a bit faster. One thing I really wish I had is some right angle clamps, and I'm probably going to invest in some as this project continues on. Like I said, I got a lot of cabinets to build. That would have made this process here a lot easier. You can see I was trying to screw onto the back panel to see if I could get some added rigidity and alignment. In the end, I ended up just sticking a couple nails in and moving really quick in hopes that I could get it before it all fell apart. I actually was able to line this up relatively easily. Your finger is remarkable at sensing when surfaces are in line with each other, and that back panel lined up exactly where I needed it to. So now we're going to pick some parallel jaw clamps. On something like this where it's so unsupported at the top, I really wanted to make sure that I was using that parallel pressure. Now I can take these back supports, which is where I'll put the screws through to mount into the wall, and use that to, one, add some rigidity to this thin and flexible back panel, as well as just add some rigidity to the cabinet, and like I said, give me a solid place to screw into when I'm mounting these into the wall. you guys have heard me talk about quick clamps in other videos. I love having that second set of hands around the shop. Not great for glue ups, but for situations like this where I need some support, they're fantastic. Speaking of a second set of hands, my fiance was back from her master's in BC, and since she wants these cabinets arguably more than I do, I told her she could put one screw in so that she could say she'd help build it, and she did exactly that. One screw and then darted back off into the air conditioning. Thanks, babe. We're going to call that a wrap on part 1, mainly because that's as far as I've gotten in this project so far, so I'm out of footage. But obviously I'm very excited about this project. It's going to be really nice to have actual cabinetry in here that I can use day to day. If you guys have enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you'd like and subscribe. Follow us along this journey as I take this from a barren, empty room of sadness to a fully functional kitchen. We're looking forward to taking you guys in the build process. Got a lot of exciting things happening this year. Continuing to build out the shop, build out the business. A lot of great content coming down the line, and I'd love to have you guys along for the ride. Until then, I'll see you on the next one.